And a very good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Kenny from Fireworks Street Media Group, and it's my pleasure to be the MC for this webinar today. I'd like to extend a very warm welcome to all of you and really appreciate you taking your time off your busy schedules to join us for this session today entitled Sugarcane Residue Management with CLAAS Machines. This event today is brought to you by our sponsor, CLAAS Regional Center Southeast Asia Limited, and organized by Asia Webinars. We have a stellar cast of international speakers today, and they are Mr. Samad Noiwan, Director of Strategy and Planning Division, Office of the Cane and Sugar Board, OCSB, Thailand, and Mr. Jens Strever, Regional Sales Manager, East Asia and Product Specialist Asia of CLAAS Regional Center Southeast Asia Limited. And finally, we have Dr. Ekapop Pairam, Managing Director of 505 Farmtech Company Limited and a CLAAS customer in Thailand. So without further ado, we'd like to invite the first speaker, Mr. Samad Noiwan, Director of Strategy and Planning Division from the Office of the Cane and Sugar Board, OCSB, Thailand, who'll be giving us a very interesting overview and forecast of the sugar crops industry in Thailand. Mr. Samad, please.
Good afternoon to our distinguished guests. My name is Samad Noiwan, Director of the Strategy and Planning Division from the Office of Cane and Sugar Board, or OCSB, the Ministry of Industry of Thailand. I'm pleased to be a part of this webinar today, and I would like to take this opportunity to present the overview and forecast of cane and sugar industry in Thailand. Let me show the outline of my presentation, which consists of 4 main topics. The first one, the overview of the cane and sugar industry 2020 to 21 crop season. The second one, the forecast of cane and sugar production 2021 to 22 crop season. The third, the factor that may impact to the production in 2021 to 22. And the fourth, the related policy and measure in this season. For the 2020 to 21 crop season, the output of sugarcane is at 66.568 million tons, which is the lowest output over the last 13 years, while the output of sugar is at 7.586 million tons. The average of commercial cane sugar is 12.91 CCS, higher than the previous year at 12.68 CCS. And the overall capacity of the production is 113.81 kilogram per ton cane, up from 110.75 kilogram per ton cane from last year. Moreover, the average spot premium price of raw sugar for exportation is at 17.26 cents per pound, while the preliminary price of 10 CCS is at 920 baht per ton, and expected that the determination price will be higher than the preliminary price. Regarding to the forecast of cane and sugar production in 2021 to 22, Board of Cane expected that the preliminary cane output in 2021-22 will be at 84.65 million tons, which will be higher than this year. However, the board will review the forecast output again in September or October for collecting the related and accurate information during the harvesting period. But from the domestic and foreign information at this moment, the information showed that cane production of Thailand will increase from the past. The third topic, the factor that may impact the production in 2021 to 2022 from the estimated production of sugarcane in 2021 to 2022 at 85 million tons. Many stakeholders see that the expected amount of production may change depends on the weather. Even at the moment, the amount of rain is quite good. Rain may not fall in some period during August to September, which is the period that sugarcane needs a lot of water to grow. And if the amount of rain is not enough for sugarcane, the amount of sugarcane will decrease from the expectation. While the situation of COVID-19 is increasing and spreading throughout the country, the production chain of cane and sugar industry can be affected by the spreading of COVID-19 and COVID-19 control measures such as the labor shortage in maintaining sugarcane for harvesting, as well as during the harvesting period, especially when some farmers do not have agricultural machinery. However, the ongoing process of sugar mills are under the measure to control and manage epidemic outbreak, and the measure called bubble and seal is one of the practices that our sugar mills implement during this period. And if we can manage the production in 2021-22, it will be a sign of a great year and ready to move our industry forward. In the 2021-22 crop season, the government still pay attention to reduce the air pollution, especially PM 2.5 during November to March. During this period, burning cultivated fields and stubbles after harvest are normally seen, including sugarcane field burning, and bringing the problem of dust and air pollution covering the nearby area and affect the health of people in nearby communities. The sugarcane and sugar industries have to take a responsibility for this situation, and our goal is to reduce the amount of burnt sugarcane to only 10% of the total sugarcane supply to the factories, or to reduce the area of sugarcane burning to at least 160,000 hectares from the total planted area of approximately 1.6 million hectares. Meanwhile, the government did not throw a burden to the farmer on higher costs, and the government had a support measure by obtaining the agricultural machinery for green cane harvesting, such as sugarcane leaf cutters, engine, and giving a soft loan with low interest for investing in green cane supplying, as well as finding source of income to compensate the cost of green cane harvesting in various forms. For example, purchasing sugarcane leaves and fuel for electricity generation, etc. Here's the amount of burnt cane compared with cane, and in 2020-21 crop season. I think everyone also wants to see the outcome in the opposite way from 2017 to 18. In conclusion, I would say that the 2021-22 crop season will be a year of recovery for the brighter future and balanced output. I hope that the development of cane and sugar industry will move forward in every step we walk with more efficiency, sustainability, and inclusion in all aspects such as agricultural machinery, environmental protection, and lead to the biological industry, which is the goal of the industry, and will make more value added to our industry throughout the supply chain. And I wish to thank to CLAAS, Asia Webinar, Farm Tech, and Firework Media for this wonderful opportunity, and hope to working with you to develop the industry. Lastly, thank you for all your kind attention, and I wish my presentation will give you fruitful information for exchanging our view in the Q&A session. Thank you.
Thank you for your interesting opening topic, Mr. Samad. I'm sure everybody is all listening very closely to your session. Okay, up next we have Mr. Jens Strever, Regional Sales Manager, East Asia and Product Specialist Asia from CLAAS Regional Center Southeast Asia Limited, who would actually be introducing CLAAS machines that does sugarcane baling and cane trash collection, along with a showcase of these machines already also in Thailand. So without further ado, I'd like to invite Mr. Jens. Mr. Jens, please.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Kenny, for your kind introduction, and a very warm welcome from my side as well to all the participants on this webinar today. Yeah, my name is Jens Stieve. I'm the Regional Sales Manager for CLAAS in East Asia and also the Product Specialist for CLAAS in Asia in total. I grew up with agriculture background. I started working with CLAAS in 2013, so almost 8 years now. And yeah, my first international experience I did was in 2015, where I traveled to India, to our production facilities in India. And yeah, since the 1st of January 2020, I'm now usually based together with our team in our office in Bangkok and Thailand. At the moment, I'm in Germany, but as soon the pandemic allows, I will be also back in the region to support there directly. Yeah, before we go today into the topics of our product, where we have a look in the equipment that we can offer to the market, yeah, then before that, we will shortly have a look in a video that we have for you, and yeah, from our machines working in the cane trash fields or in the sugarcane fields in Thailand. Enjoy this 2-minute video first, please. Yeah, this is a short introduction video to our machines working in Thailand. As you can see, the machines are already there. Was just one example from already some years ago where we recorded this, and since then we already see a great development in this kind of application that the cane trash after the harvest, mechanical harvest with a machine, is then collected and used and not laying and burned on the field. Yeah, let us have a short look in the content for today. I will take over here for the first three parts. That is the motivation about the biomass waste baling or the collection of the biomass of the sugarcane leaves in this example. Then we also will have a look to our products that CLAAS can offer for this application. And shortly we'll also talk about our technique itself and the beneficial in using the CLAAS machines. After that, Dr. Eka will take over and sharing his experience. He's a CLAAS customer in Thailand and also our partner in Thailand. And he will also share his experience that he did in the past with sugarcane collection and biomass collection in Thailand. Yeah, here the motivation is very simple. We already heard that in the first part of the webinar. The most of the time at the moment, or a lot of time, the sugarcane leaves are still laying on the field after the harvest. So when the sugarcane itself was harvested with a sugarcane harvester mechanically, then the leaves are later on laying on the field, and they need to be cleared out, or the field need to be cleaned for the next crop. And at the moment, the easiest way for the most farmers is to just burn the material. It's a fast way to do that and also efficient. The material is not on the field anymore on the next day. And for most of the farmers which are not having the technique on their hand, this is the easiest way. But as we already see here on the picture, air pollution is really significant. It's also affecting the health, as mentioned before, of the people living there. And here on the right side, we see, already first picture, how the situation could be different by using technology to collect this material. Here a few newspaper articles, just as an introduction. I think all of us who are living in Asia or also in Thailand here, this is clearly visible and feelable for everybody. When you're living there and the crops or the sugarcane season starts, also called sometimes the burning season starts, the air pollution on some days is really bad in the cities. The wind blows the dust and the PM 2.5 particles into the cities, and breathing is sometimes really hard when we are on the high run of the burning season. And we would like to talk now about machines that can support to stop this burning in the field. As I mentioned, most of the time the available technique is the key point. So the technique is there. The technique it is not science fiction solution. It can already run in the field. We saw that also in the video, and I think also maybe some participants who are here today also knowing the machines, also already working in the field. But if the machines are not available in some regions, as I mentioned, most of the time it is really the easiest way for the farmer to burn the fields. But we will look in the benefits also for farmers if they're using equipment to collect the cane trash out of the fields. First of all, what is needed for this process? That is for this biomass baling process. That is on one side the agriculture waste. We talked about it is already there. It is left on the field, and it need to get out of the field on any way. The second one is the power plant that is required, where you taking this agriculture waste then as the fuel, as an energy source, but also already in Thailand, as an example, a lot of these power plants are already there and looking for more material that they can source. Then you need the agriculture equipment. Here a tractor and with baling equipment. We see already a few pictures there. in the slide. We will later come a bit more detail to what is the differences between these machines. And you need also logistics behind. So after you baled the material, these bales are laying on the field. You need to collect them and you need to transport them basically from the field to the power plant location. Yeah, what are the arguments for biomass waste baling? First of all, we can use material that is already there on the field. So in increasing demand, for example, of electricity can be tackled by without cropping cropping additional crops. So it is already there, and we do not need to plant any other material. Then it also gives an extra profit to the farmer. I think that is also really a key point. Instead of burning and let us say wasting the money and let us burn it away, he will get money for bringing this fuel, this waste, the biomass, to a power plant. And here, I think also one of the major points is the significantly reduce of the air pollution that can be supported by this. And also the power plants, as I mentioned, they are looking really for material that they can source locally. Therefore, this is a good solution. Fields are mostly directly around power plants and the material is there. And this is a good way for the power plants as well to source the material locally and no long transportation ways, for example. Yeah, shortly looking to the process of the power plant. Very simple overview here. So we have the biomass waste, the material, the raw material that could be here straw, for example, the sugarcane leaves, or also paddy straw, rice straw, and that could be also corn, for example, which are left over after the harvest. Also, sometimes wood chips are used, or maybe also in the mix. This biomass waste goes into the incineration process where it's burned, and out of this process we generate heat and electricity. So this can be both used as energy out of this incineration process. Then here the key point there regarding the air pollution, even if we're burning the material or if the material is burned, we have later on filtered and clean exhaust gases, so we do not have this open burning on the field anymore. And there's also, the circle is also close back to the agriculture sector, because we have, after the incineration process, after burning, we have the residues left over, which can be used in the agriculture sector as well, again, for example, as a fertilizer. What I would like to mention here shortly is the biogas process. As some side information, the incineration process is really currently one of the most common processes, as the incineration plants are already there with burning the material. But this material would be also a good source or a feeding source for biogas plants. The efficiency of a biogas plant is at the end higher instead of incineration. There we feed in the material. We have this fermentation process and earning gas out of the material, and this gas is then going into engines and burned or used directly, this gas. We will not go into details here, but just to mention that there is a different process also beside of incineration, which is biogas production. Yeah, we would like to talk here shortly about the untapped potential with one example here. We see here on the right side a table of material of different countries, where we can see how much sugarcane trash, corn trash or corn straw, and also paddy straw is unused every year, and what is annually burned on the field. And I think this number is here really giving a good idea of how much potential is still there, and how much this whole process could be further developed. We have here an example calculation. So with the sugarcane leaves left on the field after the machine harvest, then the trash makes up to 10 to 15% of the total biomass as the yield. So if you're looking here, we have then around a yield of around 7 tons per hectare of sugarcane leaves, with the energy content in it and a 25% efficiency, which is on a pretty conservative basis calculated. we can earn out of this 1 hectare field around 7,280 kilowatt hours. And that means from 1 hectare, as an example, to get a bit better feeling for that, an electrical car could run around 570 kilometers. Or in other words, if this energy is used to supply it to the grid and to sell it into the grid on an example of 4 euro cents per kilowatt hour, then this would mean there are around 290 euro per hectare on the field. This just as an example. For sure, the yield can always be a bit different. It varies a bit due to local conditions, and also the efficiency is up to the power plant. But just this as an example, how the calculation could look like, and I think that is a really realistic and maybe even a bit conservative calculation for your feeling. Yeah, then the question, why CLAAS balers? We saw it already in the introduction video. We have a lot of experience already with this biomass baling in Asia. The start was not easy. That is for sure. You can see it in the video. The conditions are really tough. There's a lot of dust. There's a lot of dirt that's going through the machine. But in the past years, we used this experience we did to develop machines further. And for example, on new machines, we have now also HD kits available, special wear parts, reinforced wear parts, and so on. And we see it also on the market of used machines. A lot of used CLAAS equipment is also coming into Thailand and is used for this process. And we can basically say we have a lot of experience with this application, and it's fully supported by us. We're sitting in Thailand directly with our regional center. We have our partners out in the country, and we can support this process. And looking forward also there to do that even more in the future to reduce the air pollution in the country, to support this process and the other topics that I've mentioned before. To come a bit more detail to our products, we can see here that we have different products available also in different sizes. So for example, here's the CLAAS Quadrant, which is our big square baler. That was the one that we also saw in the video. Then we also have a bit small scale technique for square baling. That is our CLAAS Markant. That is a small high density baler. We will also see one overview slide to this machine. And we have also round balers in our product portfolio. This is on one side the CLAAS Vollant, which is a fixed chamber round baler. So we have always the same size of the bale. We have also a variant, so-called variant, CLAAS Variant, that is a variable chamber round baler. For example, there you can adjust the bale of the size, the diameter. And we have also here the logistics technique. You saw this telehandlers from us also in the video operating in Thailand to collect the bales later in the field. We will not go in the deeper details there, but just to mention that this technique is also available from us. It could be the telehandler as on the top right picture there, but that could be also a tractor, for example, with a front loader as on the bottom right picture. Yeah, I would also like to shortly compare these two applications, or these two ways to bale under each other. The one is a square baling process and the other one is a round baling process, because we see both in countries where the sugarcane is collected. Both processes are known there, but what is the benefit and what is the benefit of which process? The benefit of square baling is that we have a really high compression. So for example, the bale of 1.2 meter width, 7 centimeter height, and adjustable length, we have there around 250, 300 kilo, sometimes even more kilogram per bale. So really high density of the bale. You saw it in the video, the machine can operate very fast. So we have a high throughput there. It's a non-stop process. So the bale, you can continue baling. The bale is always injected in the back and you do not need to stop there. So it's an ongoing process. We have a perfect shape for efficient transport. Here, this square bale can be very good. Put it on a truck for the road transportation without a lot of space in between the bales. and it's really compact packed, and we can put a lot of load on such a truck when we loading the cane bales on it in the square shape. One negative point, or one point their concern, is that larger tractors are required, especially for smaller farmers. They mostly not have tractors with around 200 horsepower. We mostly see that the smaller farmers still have smaller machines to go into their smaller fields, which is totally okay. But then sometimes contractors coming in, which are owning then bigger machines. But just at the point that here really around 200 horsepower is required to run such a baler. The round baling process is ideal for small scale, but also a really big point here is, or the beneficial point here is when we having not a long distance between the power plant and the fields. Here, one positive point on round balers is that the horsepower requirement is less. So also this smaller machines from farmers that they already own can be used for running such a round baler. It is in general a simpler technology. You will see that also later on in one slide. And we have also lower investment. But at the end, also the throughput is a bit less because it's an process. After you finish the bale, you need to stop, you need to open the chamber, the bale rolls out of the bale chamber, and then you can continue work. So that is not a non-stop baling process. That's why we have also a bit less throughput here at the end. Shortly going in some details here. I mentioned about the Markant, the small high density baler. That is also very nice to use, for example, in paddy fields where the machine weight can't be that big, not that heavy, where you need a bit lighter machine. This is a great combination, CLAAS tractor in the front and the Markant baler in the back. You can see the bale size is also much smaller, 36 centimeter by 46 centimeter. Length is also adjustable, but these bales are totally handleable by hand, and you don't need the big logistics machines behind, and you can easily make the logistics manually and transport them to the power plant as well. We have a horsepower requirement of around 60 horsepower. So here, as I mentioned, CLAAS tractors, smaller tractors, or also tractors which are already at the farmers, they can use this Markant behind. I think the process is pretty easy. We have a pickup in the front. We have a rake which is feeding then the material into the bale chamber. We saw that also in the one video there. And then there's a plunger inside, compressing the material. And then once the bale length is finished, there are two knotters in the Markant, which are making a knot and binding the bale together. The process here on our quadrant square baler is basically the same. When we start here maybe with the right side, we have the pickup, we have the feed rake to feed the chamber. Then we have point number 3, the compression of the bale, also with a big plunger in the front, and then we have the binding process. So the process itself is pretty much the same. It is just large scale and for high throughput. We pretty newly launched also our new quadrant evolution. So this is a complete updated quadrant square baler. Here, as I mentioned, with reinforced parts, we have a complete new design pickup in the front to collect the material, and also there are HD kits, especially for sugarcane application, are available. And we are really happy also if there are some further questions afterwards, after the webinar, to talk in detail about what that means. Here the bale size is different, 70 centimeter by 1.2 meter on the quadrant 4200. The bale length can be up to 3 meter. That is an adjustable due to the trucks that are used. The horsepower requirement 150 to 180. I mentioned before 200. As bigger the tractor is, as better the machine will work. 150 is the starting point. We also have customers in Thailand using around 150 horsepower in front of the quadrant 4200 and working well. They might need to work a bit slower. And if you would have 180, 200 horsepower in front, the machine could maybe even generate even more throughput. From our tractor range, we would recommend to combine this quadrant baler with an Arion 600 range, or with a bigger tractor that is called the Axion 800 with a bit above 800 with a bit above 200 horsepower. Yeah, and also maybe do not forget that here I told about that we are the most experienced in the sugarcane trash collection, but also here you can see the knotters, this high performance knotters in the quadrant. It's 6 in a row. This knot has an anniversary, 100 years old, and for sure small modifications, but the technique itself we already used since 100 years, and yeah, we have really a lot of experience with this application of baling. Yeah, then I think that was one slide too fast. Then here, fit for biomass. You saw in the video a lot of dust, a lot of dirt going through the machines as well. So we have the special modifications that I also mentioned with HD kits. For example, early dirt and dust removal. We have this preparation floor in the front with holes inside that the dust can fall out as one example. That is available on Markant and on Quadrant. And yeah, really HD parts that start from plunger bearings and so on. So and the counter knife itself on the plunger. So a lot of new things there. And at the end here, longest experience, and we have the most reliable technology for biomass baling, also in very tough conditions. We will also see in the next slides some pictures here to get a feeling. You see it again in the picture. A lot of dust. That is a picture from one Quadrant 4200 working at the biggest sugarcane sugar producer and bioenergy producer in Asia. This is one of 6 machines, but at the end, we also have a lot of used machines in there, which is basically the same technology, just sometimes a bit older, a bit smaller, a bit less throughput, but the process itself is exactly the same. We have also here example pictures from Africa, where this same process is also working. The only difference there, they mostly, because they have really wet conditions sometimes from the cane leaves, they first drying the material before they're baling it. So they tedding it and rake it together again, as you see on both left pictures, and after that they're collecting it, but then the whole process is the same. Material get collected, transported to power plant, and then sourced as a energy material for power production. We also see here the same process working in China. We have it here in corn stover. So this can not only be implemented in cane trash collection. You may see that the bale size is a bit different. We have also the different models. This bale here is 90 centimeter high instead of 70 centimeter. It's a different baler. Technology is the same. It's just the question, what is best for transport in every country, and what we see, especially in Thailand, that the 70 centimeter high bale is very well established there, and that's why the Quadrant 4200 is there. Or also the older ones like 3200, 2200 that are the most popular machines for this application in Thailand. We also have experience here with the Markant in this cane trash collection, in the trash collection, for example, here in Paddy Straw in India. The Markant 650 there in the first season after the update. The machine was working in 2019 there from October to December and made 40,000 bales. I think that's also a number, gives a good feeling of the great performance of these machines, even in the smaller scale application. Also there, we are not unexperienced. I would say we know what we're doing there. Bit looking to the time, bit running out of time. I think I need to hurry up a bit, but I also would like to mention here about the round balers. As I told, we have Roland and variant balers available. Basically, out of both balers, the round bale is coming out in the back. Just a question if it's a fixed chamber, so if you always can get the same bale dimension, like here on the Roland, 1.2 meter by 1.25 meter, or is it required to also have smaller bales? Then variant would be maybe the better choice. And we also have there strengthened components and, for example, HD rollers inside on the Roland machine. And also this round baler is ready for tough conditions in trash collection in the agriculture sector. Here shortly to that process, I mentioned it's a bit simpler as on the square balers. We're picking up the material in the front, then the material is feeded into the round, into the chamber. There we have this rollers here on the Roland. The material, the pickup and the rotor is feeding the material into the chamber, and filling it up completely. If it's completely full already, even pressing more material in. That's how we compress the material. When then the chamber is really complete full and the density of the bale is high enough, then we wrapping twine or net around this bale. This is both possible. And when this net and twine or twine is around the bale, which holds it basically in place, then the bale chamber opens, the bale can fall out, and then you can continue working the baling process, and somebody else can then collect the bale from the field. Also, this roll-on baler here, example pictures from India, is working very well. They're also in paddy straw. So we see there is, for example, on the country of India, there is a demand for small square balers like the Markand, but there are also customers who are ready to use such round balers already. So there's always a beneficial point for that one or for the other process. It really depends on local demand and conditions. And so also here, China, we saw the big quadrant already running there, but also round balers operating there in case customers having smaller machines, smaller tractors, or if they very close to power plants and so on, if they don't need to transport this material that far, then they can use also round balers here. So to sum it up, we have the power plant that can source material locally and on a cheaper way. We have additional income for farmers locally because the power plant's buying the material from them. And we have also sometimes contractors which can start their baling business. They can use bigger machines and going from one farmer to the other one. And basically, one of the main points I think is the environmental topic. We have less air pollution, which is good for everybody who is living in these countries, and it is at the end a win-win situation. So stop wasting money is our slogan here. Use the waste out of the field. Glass balers are the ideal solution for tough conditions. Doesn't matter if small square, big square baling, or round balers, or even the logistics behind. Everything is available from our house. And we talk now mostly only about, or we talk just about square baling, but I would like to hand over now to Mr. or Dr. Pop, who will share a bit of his experience in the field, and he also knows a bit more about another process, another application that can be used for sugarcane trash collection. Thank you very much for your attention, and I would like to hand over to Dr. Pop, and see you later back in the Q&A session.
Thank you for your informative presentation, Mr. Jens. I'm sure the audience today had learned a bit about the capabilities of CLAAS machineries in the sugarcane industry. So as mentioned by Mr. Jens earlier, up next in our final presentation, we would have Dr. Ekapop Pairam, the Managing Director of 505 Farm Tech Company Limited and one of CLAAS customers in Thailand, who will be speaking on the topic Perspective on Sugarcane Residue for Biomass Industry in Thailand, and also sharing some experience of cane trash collection with the CLAAS Jaguar machinery. Dr. Ekapop, please.
Okay, สวัสดีครับผม good afternoon from Thailand, and just for my international audience, I would be giving presentation in two language because I noticed the quite a number of Thai people who are interested in our presentation. Okay, next please. Okay, so a little bit about myself. I am a farmer, and I also a CLAAS customer. I import the machine from Germany, mostly CLAAS machine, big tractor, and also a lot of them are forage harvester. Next please. Okay ครับเมื่อกี้ก็คือ so I'm also have experience in the cattle farm. So in our farm is the beef farm, and I also goes into a lot of dairy farm because we also saw Tima mixer. I'll switch to Thai now. So คือผมก็เป็นชาวนานะครับเป็นชาวไร่ชาวนาแล้วก็เลี้ยงวัวเหมือนกันเลี้ยงทั้งวัวเนื้อแล้วก็มีลูกค้าที่เป็นฟาร์มวัวนมก็ผมก็ได้ไปขายเครื่องจ่ายอาหารให้กับฟาร์มวัวนมนะครับก็เลยคือก่อนหน้านี้ก็คือเราอาหารเนี่ยที่เราผสมในเครื่องทีม R ก็เราจะใช้ข้าวโพดบดซึ่งเราจะได้การได้ใช้เครื่องเก็บเกี่ยวก็คือเครื่องCLAAS จากัวครับเก็บเกี่ยวข้าวโพดบดมาเป็นอาหารหยาบเพื่อให้ผสมกับเครื่อง TMR นะครับก็เลยมีประสบการณ์เกี่ยวกับด้านนี้ so a little bit more how we relate to CLAAS Jaguar because since we are the beef farmer and also we the beef the cattle has to have the mixture of silage and also the nutrients, so we mineral and also the vitamins and also proteins. We have to use the CLAAS Jaguar to harvest and then chop the maize. ต่อไปครับ next please. So let's talk about the current situation of the biomass production in Thailand. So from the speaker earlier, Mr. Jens, he mentioned about the having a lot of time we use now the sugarcane trash, which we collect from the sugarcane field, and a lot of time I think most of the machine used I think over 90% CLAAS machine, which is CLAAS Quadrant, the number one popular machine to collect the sugarcane trash in Thailand. So this sugarcane are then pulverized and then mixed with the wood chip at the biomass station, and then they use it to burn as a fuel. เป็นภาษาไทยนะครับ กลับอีกแป๊บหนึ่งครับ ก็คือในปัจจุบันนะครับก็ที่เมืองไทยเนี่ยก็จะใช้รถอัดใบอ้อยนะครับคือเครื่อง CLAAS Quadrant เนี่ยก็คือเราก็จะรวบรวมใบอ้อยจากในแปลงแล้วก็อัดเป็นก้อนสี่เหลี่ยมนะครับแล้วก็หลังจากนั้นก็จะนำไปย่อยผสมกับเศษไม้นะครับที่อยู่ที่โรงงานไบโอแมสผสมกันแล้วก็จะเอามาเป็นเชื้อเพลิงในการต้มน้ำแล้วก็เพื่อที่ปั่นไฟครับ next please. Okay, so the problem that the biomass producer are currently facing, so we can see is the already spoken by the previous two speaker. So already we have the farmer burning the sugarcane trash. A lot of time when one and on the left picture is actually before harvesting, and then the second picture is after the harvest. So either way, burning is no good because it produces the dust cloud, which is is not environmental friendly. So what it does is that we want to eliminate this process, but at the same time the number of machines that used to collect and also the technology is there, it's available, but it's still not yet available to everybody because maybe the financial wise and also experience wise. เขาเป็นภาษาไทยนะครับทีนี้ก็คือปัญหาใหญ่นะครับก็คือเราไม่สามารถเก็บเชื้อเพลิงนะครับที่อยู่ในแปลงได้ทันท่วงทีเพราะว่าเวลามันในสำหรับเกษตรกรชาวไร่อ้อยเนี่ยครับเวลาพอปลูกหลังจากเก็บเกี่ยวแล้วเนี่ยมันก็จะมีตออ้อยเนี่ยขึ้นมาใหม่แล้วเวลาในการเก็บเกี่ยวมันมีจำกัดเพราะว่าถ้าเกิดเราเก็บเกี่ยวช้าไปรถก็จะเบียดต่อไร่อ้อยต่ออ้อยก็ทำให้อ้อยเนี่ยเสียหายนะครับทำให้ผลผลิตรอบต่อไปเนี่ยเสียหายเพราะฉะนั้นเนี่ยมันก็บางทีก็ถึงแม้ว่าจะมีเครื่องอัดอยู่นะครับก็อาจจะไม่สามารถอัดได้ทันเพราะว่าหนึ่งก็คือเวลานะครับที่ว่าไม่สามารถอัดได้ทันก็เทคโนโลยีมีอยู่แต่ว่าทีนี้เราก็จะพยายามดูว่าเราจะสามารถอัดฉีดเครื่องจักรแล้วก็เทคโนโลยีโน้ตฮาวทั้งในการซ่อมบำรุงนะครับแล้วก็ในการซ่อมบำรุงและในการใช้เนี่ยได้ยังไงนะครับ so a little bit more so this is time constraint when you pick up sugarcane trash because after you harvest there will be a new sugarcane tree plants coming up, so you want to be able to harvest before this plant gets too high because otherwise if you come later and then you harvest when the plant is too high, you damage the crop. So sometimes the farmer really have no choice but to burn the field. So I think this is where we came in to introduce the another machines, hopefully which will help in the process. So let's bring to the next slide to show how the CLAAS Jaguar could collect the sugarcane trash. ขอบคุณสำหรับวิดีโอนะครับ so thank you for the video. So I would also like to emphasize another point, which is I think Mr. Jens already mentioned this, a lot of dust when you see the video when you're collecting the sugarcane. This dust, there's also another point, the machine that we use now is normally mainly used for the agriculture for feeding animals, but this is we're using it for biomass. The sugarcane trash does have one quality which is different from grass. It is really tough. It's like when you this sugarcane trash, it's like working with the sandpaper. So I'm sure the other producer also have wonderful machines, but I think the the number of CLAAS machine really speak for themselves, because when you work with the sugarcane trash, the trash goes through the machine. It's almost like you constantly going through with the sandpaper to sand down the machine. So this is why you really have to, as a contractor, you really have to choose carefully which machines to use. So you want the machine that's tough and also easy to maintain. Okay, so okay, let's see about the benefit of the Jaguar in the cane trash collection. So the first one is the left step. So as you can see from the video, the sugarcane trash goes straight from the field into the truck and then into the shop mass. And this will also save time and labor costs, because if you bale, you know, there's also extra step that you have to take. So if you look at the picture in the middle, you see you have to have the machine to collect the bale from the field, and then again another machine to offload the truck, and then also another process to shred the sugarcane trash at the facility. So you would cut out all the steps if you use the Jaguar. And also for the contractor, so it is I think, in my opinion, it is a little bit it's easy to maintain, because when you bale the sugarcane trash, you use the baler. The baler is the slightly more complex mechanism. I think mainly when you tie the machine, which is you know, there's quite a lot of mechanical movement involved. So there's quite a few things that you would have to maintain closely and also replace for the machine to be running well. But for the Jaguar, if you can see it, the bottom corner picture, you see the process summarized. You see the material being fed through the intake, and then goes through the shopping drum, and then goes through the okay, we can take out the cone cracker because we will need it in the sugarcane trash. Then goes through the accelerator, and it goes out to the chute. Okay, so what the farmer would benefit with the contractor. So I think the Jaguar can actually the Quadrant, don't get me wrong, has the very high throughput, and the Jaguar, because you don't have to worry about the and loading and then loading the knot and everything. So you would imagine you save a little bit of time just to you know, to cover more grounds per day, because you use less machine and you could go from field to field, and then faster. In the end, it results in a faster removal of the material, and also slightly higher production per day for both the customer and also the contractor. Okay, so I would like to before I finish the presentation in English in this slide, I would like to also add one more point. Why the Quadrant would still be around in the market? Well, because as you can see, when you once you shop the material, it's not anymore an ideal condition to transport, because the square bale is there for a reason. Square bale, you can see, is packed neatly onto the truck. So if you use the Jaguar, then you also have to look into sacrificing the logistic cost. So in a way, it's all about waiting to see if the extra step is going to give you enough saving, would offset the cost of transport. So this is the main thing that you have to consider if you are a contractor, and if you want to work with the Jaguar. So now I'm going to present in Thai. โอเคครับ ก็อันดับแรกที่ผมตัดสินใจทดลองใช้รถจากัวนะครับในการไป ไปเก็บใบอ้อยนะครับมันก็จะมีข้อได้เปรียบอันดับแรกนะครับดังนี้ก็คือ1เนี่ยหลังใบอ้อยที่เราเก็บจากในแปลงเนี่ยแล้วก็ลงสู่รถเนี่ยมันเป็นใบอ้อยที่เราสามารถเก็บแล้วก็สับย่อยให้ละเอียดภายในขั้นตอนเดียวครับแล้วก็อันเนี้ยมันก็จะเซฟเวลาเราจะเอาต้องเอาก้อนอ้อยออกจากในแปลงแล้วก็ต้องเอาก้อนอ้อยอีกทีลงออกจากรถนะครับอันโหลดเนี่ยแล้วก็ต้องไปย่อยอีกทีในที่โรงงานไฟฟ้านะครับเราก็จะเซฟ3ขั้นตอนนี้หลักๆไปได้เลยมันก็คือใช้ขั้นตอนน้อยลงแล้วก็จะประหยัดเวลาแล้วก็ประหยัดค่าใช้จ่ายในด้านนี้ครับแล้วก็อันดับที่2ครับสำหรับผู้รับเหมาก็อาจจะง่ายต่อในการบำรุงรักษาเพราะว่าเครื่องอ่านใบอ้อยเนี่ยมันก็จะอาจจะมีขั้นตอนเนี่ยหลายขั้นตอนที่ว่ามันค่อนข้างที่จะซับซ้อนในตัวเครื่องจักรแต่ว่าสำหรับตัวจากัวเนี่ยมันก็คือมันดูดเข้าไปมันผ่านแค่ตัวบีบแล้วก็ตัวช็อปแล้วก็ผ่านถูกพ่นขึ้นไปแล้วก็ผ่านพัดลมออกไปแล้วก็ขึ้นสู่รถนะครับตรงเนี้ยมันก็จะทำให้มันขั้นตอนเนี่ยมันจะในทาง mechanical เนี่ยมันก็จะง่ายกว่ามันแล้วมันก็จะดูแลบำรุงชิ้นอะไรได้ง่ายกว่านะครับแล้วก็สำหรับเกษตรกรแล้วก็ผู้รับเหมาอีกทีก็จะได้มีประโยชน์ในอีกด้านก็คือมันก็จากัวเนี่ยผมคิดว่ามันสามารถเก็บผลผลิตได้มากกว่าต่อ1วันนะครับเพราะว่าเนื่องจากมันมีกำลังแรงม้าที่สูงกว่าเพราะว่าแรงม้าที่คุณเย็นเสนอไปเมื่อกี้มันก็เราก็อาจจะถูกจำกัดด้วยกำลังแรงม้าของรถไถของเรานะครับที่มีอยู่มันซึ่งอาจจะทำให้แบบว่าใช้รถไถที่กำลังไม่ถึงในการเก็บก็ทำให้ต้องชะลอการเก็บเกี่ยวลงก็ทำให้เก็บเกี่ยวได้น้อยกว่าแล้วก็ต้องใช้เวลาในการเปลี่ยนเชือกมัดเชือกอะไรเงี้ยครับหรือว่าใส่ตะข่ายใหม่นะครับทำให้ช้าลงในการเก็บเกี่ยวครับผมแต่ว่าก็ไม่ใช่ว่ามันจะมีข้อด้อยไปซะทุกอย่างเลยนะครับเพราะว่าหลังจากที่จากัวเก็บเกี่ยวแล้วเนี่ยมันก็จะเป็นชิ้นงานที่ย่อยใช่ไหมครับก็อาจจะได้เปรียบในการที่ว่าไม่ต้องไปย่อยต่ออีกรอบแต่ว่ามันก็จะมีข้อด้อยในการเคลื่อนย้ายเพราะว่าเวลาเราเคลื่อนย้ายฟางอัดก้อนที่เป็นสี่เหลี่ยมเนี่ยเราแพ็คได้เต็มที่เลยบนรถบรรทุกแล้วก็แต่ว่าถ้าเกิดเราเก็บเกี่ยวด้วยจากัวเราใช้เก็บเกี่ยวพวกที่มันย่อยสลายเรียบร้อยแล้วเนี่ยมันจะทำให้น้ำหนักในการขนเคลื่อนย้ายเนี่ยลดลงนะครับซึ่งอันนี้มันเป็นค่าใช้จ่ายที่ต้องเพิ่มขึ้นในการขนส่งซึ่งเราจะต้องมาปรับวางแผนดูว่าไอ้ค่าใช้จ่ายในการขนส่งที่เพิ่มขึ้นเนี่ยมันจะคุ้มค่ากับการลดขั้นตอนในการเก็บเกี่ยวนี้ไหมนะครับในการจัดเก็บในการเคลื่อนย้ายถ้าเกิดมันคุ้มก็อาจจะจากัวที่อาจจะเป็นทางเลือกเพิ่มอีกทางหนึ่งครับก็ next slide please okay so the trend of the biomass production in Thailand so the trend is as you can see there's we have lots of potential that from Mr. Yen research. You can see this loss of biomass being burned in an uncontrolled way on the field. So if we are able to collect this biomass in time, all of it, so now we have even rice straw or even the corn stalk that we could also pick up after the corn harvest. With this, would also in a way really help in first saving the environment and then also help saving costs for the biomass energy producer and also create jobs for the contractor and also produce a little bit extra income for the farmer after they harvest โอเคคราวนี้เป็นภาษาไทยนะครับก็คือแนวโน้มของการเก็บเกี่ยวผลผลิตพลังงานของวัตถุดิบพลังงานชีวมวลในประเทศไทยนะครับผมก็มองว่านอกจากใบอ้อยแล้วเนี่ยมันก็ยังมีวัตถุดิบอีกหลายอย่างอย่างเช่นฟางข้าวแล้วก็อาจจะเป็นพวกเศษต้นข้าวโพดหลังจากที่ว่าเราไปเก็บเกี่ยวฝักหรือเม็ดเรียบร้อยแล้วนะครับเพราะว่ามันก็นอกจากสังข้าวโพดแล้วเนี่ยมันก็จะมีใบข้าวโพดอะไรก็ต้นข้าวโพดที่ถูกย่อยลงมาที่อยู่ในแปลงผมมองว่าถ้าเกิดเรามีเครื่องจักรที่พร้อมมีทีมงานที่พร้อมในการบริการเนี่ยเราก็จะสามารถเก็บเกี่ยววัตถุดิบเหล่านี้ได้เต็มที่นะครับแล้วมันก็จะช่วยให้ทั้งผู้ผลิตพลังงานไฟฟ้าเนี่ยได้ลดต้นทุนลงเพราะว่าการที่ใช้ ใช้ไม้สับย่อยอย่างเดียวเนี่ยมันก็อาจจะเป็นต้นทุนที่อาจจะที่สูงหน่อยแต่ว่าถ้าเกิดของพวกนี้ที่มันอยู่ในแปลงอยู่แล้วเนี่ยที่ไม่เป็นที่ต้องการของเกษตรกรเนี่ยเราก็จะสามารถช่วยหนึ่งก็คือได้ของพวกนี้มาในราคาที่ถูกกว่าสองก็คือได้ช่วยเหลือเกษตรกรนะครับในการเคลื่อนย้ายวัตถุดิบเหล่านี้ออกไปจากในแปลงแล้วก็จะช่วยเพิ่มงานให้กับผู้รับเหมานะครับให้ได้มีงานทำตลอดปีนะครับผมก็มองว่าถ้าเกิดเรามีเครื่องจักรที่พร้อมมีการบำรุงรักษาที่ดีแล้วก็มีทีมงานนะครับที่ช่วยด้วยเนี่ยผมว่าก็จะช่วยอย่างนี้ได้เยอะนะครับก็ผมก็มองว่าถ้าเราได้ช่วยกันทั้งหมดทั้งหลายทั้งปวงก็จะทำให้เกิด situation ที่มันแบบว่ามันวินนะครับชนะทั้ง3ฝ่ายทั้งช่วยทั้งสิ่งแวดล้อมช่วยทั้งทางด้านอุตสาหกรรมแล้วก็ช่วยทั้งเกษตรกรด้วยครับผมสไลด์ต่อไปครับโอเคจบแล้วครับผม ก็ขอจบการพรีเซนต์แต่เพียงเท่านี้ครับ Thank you for listening and I'll hand this over to Mr. Kenny please
Thank you, Dr. Ekapop. It's a very interesting presentation, and I'm sure everybody hearing you speak both English and Thai, you captured everybody's attention. Thank you so much. Okay, and we have now come to the Q&A session for the webinar. And our panel of speakers over here, Dr. Ekapop, Mr. Jens, and Mr. Samad will be answering some questions from the attendees. So I think the first question will go to Mr. Samad first of OCSB. This one is from Mr. Noor Amin. He's the Regional Manager, Southeast Asia of New Kimya from Turkey. So he's actually asking, what are the most important factors to optimize the operation costs of the processes in the sugar mills and the sugar refineries?
Thank you for your question. Maybe this helps. From my views, there are two mainly factors that can optimize the operation cost of sugar mill and sugar refinery process, which are firstly the quality of supply, such as sugar content in cane, under control and monitoring including the capacity of harvesting and transferring cane to mills within the timely period. Secondly, I think is that the reduction of loss during the production process. Important also, the cost must be used in increase the efficient quality control and quality assurance as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Samad. And we have a next questions for Mr. Jens. So Mr. Jens, this is coming from Naoya Akasaki. So she's asking, can you share a bit about the sand dust separation in collecting and baling by CLAAS machine? For example, how much sand or dust is possibly remaining with the bale?
Yeah, that's a good question. As you saw, and as we also mentioned, the cane trash collection process is a really dusty process. We have behind the pickup, the pickup I mentioned that is collecting the material behind the whole floor of the machine is perforated, so it's open holes that the dust can fall out. At the end, there is no clear rule that we can say that many percent are still in the bale or that much is cleared out, because it's also depending on the conditions. If there's still a bit moisture, the dust is sometimes sticking on the leaves and can be easily removed. We know, as mentioned, we had made a lot of experience, and that is really a big challenge to remove as much dust out of the material, because you don't want to transport heavy dust through the power plant and so on. But we have these measures, as I mentioned, to separate it, and yeah, it's then up to the conditions. If it's a bit drier, the dust falls easier off and can be separated. I hope that answers the question.
Thank you, Mr. Jens. And we have another question, maybe addressed to Dr. Ekapop. Dr. Ekapop, maybe you need to help me here. It's a Thai name, which is written in Thai. So he's I think they're asking, from an end user point of view, like you, is it worth to use the chopper to actually collect the trash?
Oh yeah, I think so. For provided you made a deal with the buyer that you buy at the higher price because you buying the already chopped products, and also you don't travel for too far the distance because you so when you use the Jaguar you could and if you use the same lollies to load the material, if you use a quadrant you could for the front and back you could transport about 15 tons of material, but if you use the Jaguar you could, I think the biggest we had was 12 tons, but I think the average was about around 8 to 9 tons. So you would be looking at the higher cost of transportation, but if you were looking at the price to shop and also to pay extra for bales for loading, then it's really it could easily offset the transport. But if you want to be transport more than 200-300 kilometers, I think in the order of 100 kilometers would be great. And I'll answer in Thai too. โอเคก็ผมว่ามันก็คุ้มครับเพราะว่าตอนที่ผมไปเก็บเนี่ยมันก็ถ้าใช้รถพ่วงแม่ลูกอะครับมันก็จะเราก็จะเก็บก้อนเหลี่ยมเนี่ยมันจะใช้ได้ประมาณเราจะเก็บได้ประมาณสัก15 ตันนะครับเวลาเราเคลื่อนย้ายแต่ว่าถ้าเกิดเราใช้รถจากัวเนี่ยมันก็จะได้ประมาณสูงสุดเนี่ยผมเคยได้ถึง12 ตันแต่ว่าโดยเฉลี่ยมันก็อยู่ที่8-9 ตันก็ซึ่งแน่นอนแหละครับค่าใช้จ่ายในการขนส่งเคลื่อนย้ายเนี่ยสูงกว่าแน่นอนก็อาจจะประมาณเท่าตัวแต่ว่าถ้าเกิดลองมองดูว่าเราต่อรองกับผู้ซื้อครับว่าซื้อในราคาที่สูงกว่าในราคาที่ที่ว่าเราจะอยู่ได้ก็คือแบบว่าเราต้องคิดคำนวณว่าเขาถ้าเกิดเขาซื้อไปเนี่ยเขาก็ไม่จำเป็นที่จะต้องไปย่อยอีกแล้วก็ไม่ต้องจ้างรถคีบมาคีบออกจากแปลงแล้วก็ไม่ต้องมาจ้างรถคีบมาคีบลงแล้วก็มันอาจจะต้องมีคอสอีกอย่างเช่นต้องจ้างคนไปคอยจัดเชือกโยนขึ้นใส่สายพานอะไรเงี้ยมันจะประหยัดได้อีกเยอะครับแล้วมันก็จะเซฟได้เยอะแต่ว่าก็ต้องมองด้วยว่าเราไม่เดินทางเกินแบบว่าถ้าเกินแบบแบบประมาณ200-300 กิโลขึ้นไปครับถ้าอยู่ในรัศมี90-100 กิโลเนี่ยผมว่ามันก็สู้ได้ครับทั้งเขาทั้งเราครับผมโอเค
Thank you, Dr. Ekapop. And the next question that I have, one more for Mr. Samad. Mr. Samad, you have a question here from Mr. Chitsanupong Suprapapon, the Application Support Manager of Golden Line Public Company Limited, Thailand. So he's asking what is the direction of the Thai sugar industry in the short term, the medium term, and the long term?
Thank you for the question from Thai.
Yeah, from Thai.
From my view, in short term or in 1 or 2 crop years, we will focus at the increasing of stockpile that match to the production capacity and yields. In medium term or in 3 to 5 years, we will balance between sugar and biotech production, such as ethanol and bioplastic. As the advancement of the industry and to reduce the risk of income and make more diversification. In long term, in 5 to 10 years, we will underscore the management of the cane and sugar industry in the line with biotechnology industry. More systematic approach build more stability and sustainability to our stakeholders. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Samad. And the next question will come to Mr. Jens again. This is pretty technical. So this is from Abdullah Omrani. So he was thanking you for your very interesting presentation, and he's asking In sugarcane trash, which is left in the level of the ground where they find many cane chopped, and this cane billet's dimension is very difficult for the baler or the chopper knives to bale, and many times the baler stopped. So they're asking whether is your machinery designed to overcome such problems. And the other thing they mentioned also is the challenge is also the ferro depth and the covering of the width or feeding of the balers sometimes don't have, they don't have covers for collecting it easily. Yes, Mr. Jens.
Yeah. So it's about the first question, if I got it right. I think it's a problem that he mentioned when the cane itself, sometimes a few pieces laying on the field still and getting collected, not just the leaves, so that the cane trash, the cane itself is sometimes collected by the baler. And yes, we talked about this mechanical process inside the machine, that the material is feeded up into the chamber, then the plunger knife is coming, and also when the bale length is finished, a needle goes, or 6 needles going up to bring the twine up to the knotters. It is a physically thing if then something very hard like this cane pipe is directly on top of the needle, that it's physically not possible for the needle to go through this cane pipe itself. But what we did, we have reinforced needles, we tested them, as I mentioned, we had a lot of experience in the past years. It's a valid point to talk about that, but it's a physical thing. I'm sure reinforced parts, as I mentioned, HD kits, as I mentioned, the knives on the plunger as well are different now, based on the experience we did in sugarcane trash baling. And yeah, it is, yeah, I would say the solution is there. And to come to the second question, I don't got it exactly with this covers, but the question is always, yeah, we talked about this used machines that coming in as well, and used machines coming from Europe, for example, they usually do not go in this tough conditions, and they are usually going into a hay collection or straw collection, and with lot less dust, and sometimes we don't know what is the exact specification, for example, of such a used machine. We can also, here, if there are specific technical questions, please also feel free to contact us shortly via mail. We can have a look to these machines as well. We're fully supporting used machines as well in the country, and that we can look for solutions what is maybe not running that best or not that good, maybe just a feature missing on the machine, but that's maybe available. So let us look at the technical details afterwards, and yeah, please feel free to contact us directly then. I hope that answers the question.
Thank you, Mr. Jens. And the final question for today, for the Q&A, will once again go to Dr. Ekapop. So I think it's from a fellow Thai. So Dr. Ekapop, do you calculate the return of investment for chopper when you use it to collect trash? Including the cost of the parts when they are worn down, because you collect trash from the ground, it will be mixed with sand, and I think they mentioned that it will significantly affect the lifetime of the machine parts. So maybe you want to share something on this.
Your microphone.
Sorry, Dr. Ekapop, your mic.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
I'll try to answer first in English.
Yes, please.
So yeah, of course, it's more wear and tears when compared to when we go collect grass or maize, because you have this sugarcane leaf, which is extremely tough. So I think we harvest for like almost close to I think 1,000 tons, 1,000 to 2,000 tons of sugarcane trash, and then you would have a knife which is significantly would go down in the in sharpness, and also the counter knife. So I did calculate it. Actually, I think also gentleman already asked me the question. Yeah. I calculated it was I think it's around 2,000 baht per hectare in terms of the fuel consumption, the labor, and also the machine wear and tears, also mainly the spare part. So I would try to I will have to answer in Thai here, because I don't have the conversion number.
Your microphone again off.
Okay.
So you have to also set aside the money. I think in Thai term, I think I'm being generous. It could be less if provided you look after machine well. So I think so for example around like 50 Thai baht per tons of sugarcane. You need to be put away for the spare part for the Jaguar. So that is what converting to euro. So it's like 1.1 to 1.2 euro per ton for the spare part.
Maybe you also allow me to give me one comment to this. For sure, that's a very valid question to ask about the ROI calculation for this application as well.
Yes.
Here, Mr. Ditterin, totally right. The wear on a forage harvester with this dusty conditions is for sure higher, and also mentioned as by Pop. But here also there was a question before: is it worth to try such a machine or to work with such a machine in cane trash? It's the general calculation is for sure how far is the distance. You mentioned Dr. Pop sometimes. Depending on the truck as well, just half load instead of compared to bale load. So that is for sure a very big point there. We tried this machine already in the season and in cane trash. As you may know, this is kind of new application as well. And we know that the quadrant is already well established and working well, and ground balers as well. And but out of our first experience that we made, we can say that this Jaguar is also worth to use there. But I mentioned different conditions always a bit different. And if we would like to go into a really detailed ROI calculation, maybe for your setup, for your farm, for your operation, here please feel free to contact us as well. We can go together through a ROI calculation for your conditions and calculate the exact details. That's we are really open for doing that. Sorry for interrupting, but maybe.
Oh, no problem. Thank you for the insight. Couple. Okay. Okay. So I think Mr. Jens also give also the a good and adequate the answer for that, and I'll try to answer a little bit in Thai. So it's actually ตอนที่ผมไปเกี่ยวกับช่วงต้นปีที่ผ่านมาครับก็ได้ไปใช้จากัวแล้วก็ไปเก็บเกี่ยวมันก็จะมีพวกอุปกรณ์สึกหรอที่เราต้องดูนะครับนอกจากค่าแรงค่ากวาดแล้วเนี่ยค่าน้ำมันก็จะพอๆกันกับรถเกี่ยวรถพวกเครื่องอัดใบนะครับแต่ที่ต่างกันก็คือไอ้พวกค่าขนส่งกับค่าของสึกหรอครับมันก็อาจจะดูว่ามันขึ้นอยู่กับสถานที่ตรงไหนอะไรยังไงครับว่ามันเป็นยังไงหลักๆมันก็ถ้าเกิดให้เทียบกับพวกเครื่องอัดก้อนนะครับมันก็เครื่องอัดก้อนเนี่ยคือมันเวิร์กแน่นอนเพราะว่ามันก็ผ่านมาทุกคนใช้อยู่แล้วแต่ว่าถ้าเครื่องจากัวเนี่ยมันก็จะเป็นของใหม่ที่เราไปลองกันแต่ว่าด้วยจากประสบการณ์ที่ผ่านมามันก็เอาเป็นว่าเงินมันก็เหลือฮะที่จะพอที่จะมาจ่ายค่ารถคืนแล้วก็มาจ่ายค่าของสึกหรอแล้วก็ค่าแรงนะครับมันก็ถ้าตีไปก็ไม่น่าจะเกินก็ให้เผื่อเหลือเผื่อขายว่าสักประมาณสักอะไรก็มาสัก50 บาทต่อตันนะครับเผื่อว่าไปใช้ต่อMr. Jens, I would just saying also pretty much the same thing that you mentioned earlier that we have to consider the distance and also the it's the trial experiment. Of course, the quadrant work earlier, but then Jaguar is something new, and it's from our experience that we did in January. We in the end after subtracting everything, we have money left over for sure. Yeah,
that should be the case exactly. Same as on square balers or baling process as well as you mentioned.
Exactly.
Contractors sometimes in between with bigger machines, and this works for sure.
Yeah, and also questioning of the storage for the biomass plant. If if you want to store material for a long time, then then of course you would need a bale. Yep. Yep.
Thank you, Dr. Ikapop.
Yep.
Thank you. Okay, well, we have come to the end of the webinar today, and amazing insights that we gathered today about the developments in the Thai sugar industry, and also the world-class technology showcased by CLAAS from a manufacturer's point of view, and also from an end user's point of view from Dr. Ikapop. So with this, we would like to thank all our speakers, moderators, and attendees for joining us today. And here I wish a speedy recovery for the industry, and I hope we could start seeing each other again in the next event face-to-face in 2022. Stay safe always, and thank you.
Thank you.
As well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Samad. Thank you.